Hi there, this is Thomas Ellenberg speaking to you from Waikiki, Honolulu, Hawaii. And I would like to thank the producers of America from Freedom to Fascism, which I would highly recommend that everybody watch all 11 segments on YouTube because it will open your mind and it will explain to you why you feel as enslaved as you do. It's a brilliant compilation and really was helpful to me in explaining why I have experienced what I've experienced, which is what I'm going to actually talk to you about tonight. I was born and raised in Meadville, Pennsylvania, went to the University of Pittsburgh, joined the Peace Corps, did the whole Kennedy thing, met Martin Luther King Jr., did the whole civil rights thing, joined the teacher corps, did the whole 60s revolution, 70s consciousness expanding thing, became a lifetime educator, joined the San Francisco school system, and worked as a teacher in all grades from kindergarten through the 8th grade. And I suddenly, well, I can't say suddenly. You remember the movie Neo in the Matrix? When you spend an entire lifetime in the school system, your eyes, at least my eyes, were really opened. And very few people have that, I think, the spiritual background and the level of consciousness, perhaps, to have had the experience that I had. But the experience I had was very much like Neo in the Matrix, in the sense that I began, even as early as the late 70s and early 80s, I began to notice that the way we defined children through the grading system, the A, B, C, D, E, and F system, actually created a pyramid where it was set up. There was a setup for certain children to be A's, like the really smart kids and the athletes, and then B's, and then C's, and then D's, and then F's, and that this kind of set them in motion for their whole life to fulfill certain rungs in the social economic stratus, the way our society is secretly organized. So it set up the kids to fit into these pigeonholes, and that the way that the children were being controlled was actually through fear. I mean, you just really had to admit that the children were controlled through fear. They would come, I'm sure you remember as a child, you were carefree, you felt your joy, you felt your importance, you felt your inner essence, you felt that you had a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And yet once you started school, you were being literally beaten into submission, whether through actual beatings by rulers, or whether you were threatened, you had to stay after school, or you were humiliated, or you were given a D, or you were told your parents had to come in after school, or by your peer group you were told that you were not a good enough athlete, or you were not smart enough, or you were not good looking enough. Anyway, I noticed, teaching every grade, that the school system is fascistic. It blew me away. I felt like Neo waking up, realizing that our American public school system, even with so many wonderful dedicated teachers and administrators who helped give me a certain amount of freedom inside the school system, even though they do exist, thank God they exist, the overall public school system, the way it's set up with this pyramid kind of social stratifying that goes on based on fear, based on forcing the children to do what they are told, or else, and you've all been there, or else, that's fascistic. And so let's connect the dots, and you wonder, why did America not notice when its governing systems began to be more and more fascistic? Well, it's because it kind of reminded them of school. It was so similar to what they were experiencing for 12 years the dictatorship of the powerful over the masses, that when they got out into the world, okay, well, capitalism and the way the political system is set up, the fascistic organizational structures seemed familiar. And so even though we've been told over and over and over how free we are, we didn't realize that we'd been dumbed down into a kind of fascistic, numb state of somnambulant zombiehood. So what I did in my classroom in San Francisco was I began to set my children free. And I worked middle school, and I had a really supportive administration. San Francisco, as you know, is very liberal, thank God. And I was given a lot of freedom, and I wrote this book, Uncle Tom's Classroom: How One Public School Teacher Awakened His Students to the Cosmic Super Self Within. And basically what I did was I put up free speech allowed in the front of my 6th grade classroom, and I told my kids that we were going to bring back free discourse, and they were going to be allowed to study any kind of books they wanted to develop any kind of curriculum they wanted to, as long as it was creative, as long as it was a positive dominated strand or theme. They were allowed to define what it is they wanted to learn about and then create curriculum around that and projects around that, and they would each become teachers of that, and it was a spectacular success. And what we discovered was that within each child there is a cosmic super self connected with the entire cosmos, a very creative super being who is and will always be free. Totally and completely free. Nobody can control how we think. And because nobody can control how we think, nobody can really make us an Uncle Tom. No matter how much they threaten us, no matter how much they try to scare us into submission or entertain us into somnambulance, no matter how much they try to do that, if you are willing to wake up and begin to think for yourself, you will stop being an Uncle Tom to any of the major control thought systems that are in control, and you will wake up as Neo did in the Matrix, and you will see that you have been serving, albeit unconsciously, a kind of a fascistic dictatorship of the super wealthy and the super powerful, and that you were playing their little game. At some place in the pyramid, you were supporting that. Anyway, I would just like to suggest that if you're interested in how I began to liberate my students from the military mindset, the military industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us not to fall under, check me out at www.uncletomsclassroom. And this shows how I removed the fascistic controls and gave my students freedom of speech within the classroom, and this absolutely liberated them. This back title here is great. Throw off your chains, set yourself free, remember the quantum field master you were born to be. Because in truth, even quantum physics, which is what we use so much of in my classroom, is proving now that our expectations, our thinking, our state of consciousness has a direct bearing on our environment and the society around us. And that if enough of us wake up and demand to live as the free cosmic super beings that we were placed here to be, we will in fact change and transform our society from a prison into a paradise. So this is Thomas Allen Berg saying, I believe in freedom. I believe that we were created to be free. I believe we have in us every bit of capacity, all the potential to be as free as we can possibly be. So, check out Uncle Tom's Classroom, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.